Imagine you're up in the mountains, where the air up here is pretty thin, and you just clocked into your new maintenance job for a 16-hour shift. And now, you're out of oxygen. Luckily, there is a solution. Get some air in a glass can, and bite that sucker out. Not exactly the best thing for your gums, but the job has a probably good dental plan, so you'll be alright. Oh no, we're in the UK! However, because your air supply is limited, you have to be mindful only to consume them right before you hit your threshold, a psychological horror game by Critical Reflex. What? They were both in all caps. If you weren't aware, this is the same publisher as Mouthwashing, another great horror game which this game makes plenty of references to. There's like one reference in the starting area, but that's still something. So unlike some other games from Critical Reflex, which I've covered in another video, Threshold has virtually no connection to any of the publisher's other titles. However, the reason this game is so unique has to do with its connection with real life. It's well known that the phrase, based on a true story, is always used for stories that are 100% accurate. But Threshold does something different. Instead of it only referring to the story, it also has to do with the gameplay. So let's get into it. As you gear up for your new maintenance job in the mountains, you'll be working for the government. Which government? Well, that's completely up to you. At the start of the game, it lets you choose between multiple countries. The catch, depending on which country you pick, it'll change the difficulty. For example, if you go with the UK, British, you'll be in the Grampian Mountains, the lowest and therefore easiest mountain to breathe in. On the flip side is China, where you'll be fighting for your life on top of Mount Everest, just the tallest mountain in the world. The only thing is, the game doesn't tell you this. It just shows you a random assortment of countries with no difficulty attached to them. The developer, Julien Evier, leaves this information out for a reason, which I'll get into later as it's kind of a spoiler. Plus there are more pressing matters like naming our character. And I know the perfect two letters to use. LG. After you know, little guy. Hey, you're lucky I'm even naming you at all. Entering the game, you'll immediately be jump scared by those copycats of I Heart New York shirts, which of course changes cities depending on the country you choose. After signing our soul off to our government overlords, we make our way up the elevator and step outside. The first thing you'll notice right away is that PS1 graphic style that, for some reason, has been used in quite a few games I've talked about recently, but I assure you that's completely coincidental. Hey! Waiting for us out here is Mo, a seasoned worker who we are taking over for. To conserve air, he communicates to us through writing. He then gives us a little tour and teaches us the nitty-gritty of the job. Basically, this cargo train needs to run at the expected pace, indicated by this green light. If it lags behind, it'll flash red. So our job is to blow a whistle into this horn to keep it green. Some countries slow the train down more often than others, but it isn't very clear as to why. But remember, we have a limited supply of those air cans, so we can't just go blowing too hard. Get your mind out of the gutter. Good. Now tell them to like and subscribe. Wait, I just said it. Never mind, just forget it. Mo also tells us we're taking the role of the previous yellow clerk, me, who fell off and died. But I'm sure we won't have any freak accidents on our first day. Oh, he gave me the air. See? Mo's got our back. And as long as he's here with us, nothing bad will ever happen. Oh, okay. He'll be back. Unfortunately, with the maintenance job comes prioritizing your tasks. To keep the train running, you need air. To replenish that air, you need air cans. But to get air cans, you need tickets. But to get tickets, you either need to recycle this white substance or wait for the tickets to print. For the tickets to work, however, the train needs to be at the expected pace. I know this all sounds extremely tedious and annoying, but once you get the train rolling at full speed, the tickets will also follow suit. In fact, they'll print so fast that you can start grabbing them before they can even fully dispense. Combine this strat with the can stacking technique, and it's over. No, literally, that'll get them perma-stuck. Theoretically, you could continue doing this forever and never progress. Or you could be like Nee and start dismantling this oppressive establishment board by board. Speaking of Nee, we still don't know why he started doing this. Was he bored with the monotony of the job? Did he slowly go insane? Was he not satisfied with the benefits? How about we ask our government overlords, who for some reason reside in this fuzzy void with low-res textures? They pretty much reiterate what we already know. Figures. So instead, how about we find out for ourselves? If you remember the main menu screen, you were actually in the POV of Nee being buried. Maybe we'll find some answers there. Time to do a little grave digging. Shame on you, fix this once. Have you no shame? In Deadney's hand, we find a key, which opens the toilet.
Finally, some good fucking food.
It seems we have to dig deeper. Since we can't leave the post, the most we can do is explore every inch of it. You might catch a bloody fish floating downstream, or the occasional tremors that reveal new paths. It's those little breadcrumbs we find that will lead us closer to the truth. Even though we're left in the dark, that darkness might be the thing to shed some light. Huh. Well, never mind, it's just a duck. I wonder what a duck is doing this high up on a mountain. Guess you're coming with us. I know, I'll name you Steve.
Chicken?
Anyway, let's get back on track. Get it? Because of the train track? Since we're able to call on Mo from the elevator, we can ask him about some of these strange anomalies. Oh wait, what is this? There is another one. What's all this, Mo? Huh? Are you a murderer? Playing hide and seek? What? We get back to work, I don't have to... You're deflecting. You're deflecting, Mo. You're a deflector, that's what you are. The main one, though, is the path to the observatory, which he states is off limits until we have a tenure with the company. Oh, and it's also where Nee tragically fell to his death. Considering how shady this whole operation is, I doubt that's all there was to it. After collecting enough planks to rebuild the bridge, my suspicions were correct. At the observatory, another bloodied writing says, "My mouth," or as Nee probably said it. But more importantly, observing above the running train, we discover corpses of livestock, and they're all going to the recycling plant on the other side of this giant wall. This is where some of that reality finally sets in. But first, I suppose we should confront Mo about this. Oh, you snitch! So we got caught. In record time, might I add. However, just like in How Fish is Made, we're given a choice. Take the blue pill to resign and act like nothing ever happened, or take the red pill to learn the truth and continue the job. If you resign, they just let you go. Huh. Well, I'm sure nothing bad will happen in this extremely long elevator shaft. Oh. Oh no, an accident. Who could have foreseen this? However, going with the other choice, you learn that these corpses are apparently being recycled into water that's being fed to the entire population. Now, I'm no expert, but that seems a bit unethical and extremely disgusting. That being said, when I was going down that elevator shaft, I noticed another red text etched underneath, which says, "The water goes nowhere." So what, the job is just meaningless busy work? Well, this really is based in reality. Well, we just can't stand around and let this continue. We have to break the cycle. And to do that, we need to remember those writings. There is another one. I will hide it somewhere safe, my mouth. Well, we already desecrated the grave once, so what's another? In Deadney's mouth, we find a black whistle. Blowing into it, instead of moving faster, the train slows down. If we keep this up, we can end this once and for all. However, there's just one problem. The max threshold has been breached, causing an endless amount of animal corpses to spill out over the wall. So remember how I said this was based in reality? Well, the amount of cattle that drops is directly based on how many real animals are killed by the country you chose. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's within a real life time frame. So if you chose China and sat in the game for an hour, the kill count would add up to millions. Good luck getting a steady frame rate after that. So now you can probably guess the reason as to why the train slows down. As all of this carnage ensues, the post becomes in even worse shape. And if you weren't careful with your air can supply, you'll suffocate in the sea of corpses. But if you were smart like me, you'd still have that stash from earlier. So with enough air supply, we blow one last time to get the train to a stop. And then it starts going backwards. Therefore, breaking the bond and destroying the system. This is the good ending. Unfortunately, there was no way for us to save those animals that were already slaughtered. But we can save one. Come on, Steve, we gotta make it out of here. Yes, Steve, we made it. Wait, who's gonna clean this up? And that was Threshold. I'm honestly surprised at how much I enjoyed this game. The psychological aspect of it made me question whether or not I should be poking around or just keep working. Even though it's a very short game that takes place in only one environment, that simplicity actually works out in its favor. Being stuck in one area mirrors how it is to be on that one shift that seems to go on forever. From a story perspective, it also presents quite a few themes. Since each government has so much power over you, they can just gaslight you without any second thought. And because they don't see you as an individual person, they only allow you an easy 2-letter name, which is in complete contrast to when you can name your duck whatever you want. And of course, getting attached to that duck makes you want to save the only animal you can. On the dev's Twitter, he mentioned implementing the slaughtering of animals to raise awareness. Not to be a vegan activist, but more so to give a reality check. Even if you don't care for the message and will happily bite into your next pork rib, the game still stands on its own as an absurd mystery with plenty of suspense. I really hope more games implement these kinds of mechanics into their games because it absolutely boosts the immersion, even if it's really easy to bug out the game. Regardless, I thoroughly enjoyed having to put the pieces together both in-game and outside the game, in what was a neat bridge between the game world and the real world. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.